I am so excited and honoured to be invited here today by the SciFest team to speak with you all on this very big occasion. First off, a huge congratulations to you all for taking the leap to participate in SciFest this year and for coming so far. It's a really big achievement, and when you reflect on all the hard work you've done, I hope you remember this experience with great pride. Today, I want to talk to you about the key elements of a successful scientist. My name is Caoimhe Dufresne. I am an engineer, a creative, and a coach, and I am the founder of Dufresne. Our mission is to empower you to gain clarity on your goals, create the focus and mindset so you can achieve your success. So, in a nutshell, we help people get clear on what they want to do with their lives and then how to make it happen. We do this with vision boards. I was introduced to vision boards almost 7 years ago. I was a bit skeptical, if I'm honest, when a manager in work asked me to go home early one day and to create a vision board. But she was giving me a half day, so I took the time off and I went home. And I did as I was told. I couldn't believe what had happened by the end of the year because of my vision board. And it's all because of the focus, mindset, and a super practical approach. So I designed a workshop to do this for others. Basically, people come to my workshop, they do a series of exercises to help them get clear on their goals, be it well-being, career, leadership, or startup. Once they have these exercises done, they create a vision board, which is an A3 piece of card capturing their vision for the next year. We then help them translate this vision into an action plan. So I wanted to give you an overview of how I arrived at this point and what the key elements are in being a successful scientist. What helped me get to this point? The key elements both inside and outside of the lab. So you're probably all approaching that stage towards the end of your secondary school education. And everybody's asking you that dreadful question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you might be thinking, what's my next step? Should I go on to third level education? If I do, which undergrad should I take? How will this set me up for success? What does success even mean to me? And if you're anything like I was, you might not really know. The truth is that there is no longer one career out there for everyone. You're not going to do one career for the rest of your life. The career scape is changing. The way we are working is changing. There's so many factors at play here, including AI. So I wanted to show you first my squiggly career to illustrate how many applications there are in science and engineering and how you will always rely on the skills you learned through science, both inside and outside of the lab. I hope this will show you that you don't have to have it all figured out just yet, but there are elements that you learn as a scientist that will help you figure it out as you find your success. My squiggly career. So I did a very STEM-based leaving cert back many years ago, where I did physics, chemistry and maths in Coláiste Ísagán. And from there, I went on to do my undergraduate in chemical engineering in UCD. Fundamentally, engineering shaped the way I think, and I learned how to solve problems in a super practical way. This skill set has been invaluable to me throughout my career. In my final year in engineering, I went on to Rice University as I had won a scholarship. So off I went to Texas to do a master's in nanotechnology. I was exposed to cutting edge instrumentation here in a chemistry lab. A whole new world about medical applications of nanotech, and it truly was an incredible experience. From there, I went on to continue my research by doing a PhD in physics. Here, I focused on carbon nanotubes as a way to deliver cancer treatments to specific parts of the body. So the idea was to bring the cancer treatment to a specific part of the body, and my work with Raman spectroscopy was to help track the exact location of that nanotube in the body. At this stage, I felt research wasn't for me. But I was still so interested. I was so curious. I was so interested in numbers and how to apply some of the things that I had learned in industry. So I decided that I would go to the tech industry. And I worked for over 12 years in the tech industry, in Paddy Power, Hostel World, and in telecoms. Here I applied my problem-solving skills, my ability to be curious, creative, and my growth mindset. Everything that I had learned through science, I applied in my time in the tech industry. So in tech, I spent my time in the data departments. So doing things such as customer analytics, product analytics, data science, and then leading data teams. Customer analytics was probably my favorite area. Understanding people's buying patterns or their activities on a website. For example, at Hostel World, we would analyze their travel behavior. So for example, if a customer was based in America, and if they were booking to go to stay in a hostel in Paris, we would do an analysis on this to understand would they be more valuable than a customer who was booking from London to stay in Paris. We looked at what was their typical group size. Were they traveling with friends? Were they traveling by themselves? Would they book further in advance? Would they spend more money? Would they book on the app? Would they book on the desktop or on the laptop? And so all of these things really interested me. I understood the product and I just really wanted to understand that customer behavior through the data that was available to me. After 12 years in tech, I just felt that I had a real entrepreneurial streak and a creative streak that I wanted to explore. So I finally left the tech industry last year to focus on my business, redefine. So true to the business purpose, I sat down at the start of the year to create my vision board. And my vision board this year, the goal was unleash your imagination to create your dream job. And here's a snapshot of who I have worked with this year in creating my dream job. I have brought my vision boards to Bank of Ireland, Evershed's legal firm, Sulnua, Canada Life, etc., helping all of these people find a purpose in their career, grow in their roles, and grow to the next role in their career. So I want to talk to you today about what are the elements that I recommend to you to finding your success, both inside and outside of the lab. So here we have the periodic table redefined. First off, the most important element here is copper. However, copper in our context is curiosity. Lead with curiosity to find your passion. If you take anything from what I say today, this is what I want you to take away. Lead with curiosity to find your passion. Curiosity is one of the most fundamental skills that you will learn or that you have as a scientist. Curiosity is probably the reason you're here today. You're curious about science, curious about how the world works, how systems work, how people work, curious about SciFest. So often we are naturally curious about different areas. For example, you might be really curious about how car engines work. So you'll spend ages trying to understand the mechanics of a combustion chamber, which is where the fuel, air, pressure, and electricity come together to create a small explosion to move pistons, thus moving the car. The more you learn, the more you want to know. You might then find that you actually want to know how an electric car works and how other engines work. Or maybe you're really curious about people and their behaviour, why they interact in certain ways, where they get their energy from, how their friendships are formed, how some people can influence decisions and other people aren't as good at this. This is an area called social science. These are all examples of natural curiosity, and they're all focusing on external things. So you're focusing on different areas in the world. And if you think about a torch, it's like you are shining a torch on a certain area, right? So you're shining the torch on the car engine to understand more about it, or you're shining the torch on a group of people to understand more about them. But I want you to visualize yourself taking that torch and shining it inwards. Internal curiosity. Get curious about yourself. What makes you buzz? Where do you get your energy from? What comes easily to you and maybe not to others? Once you start thinking like this, you can really get a better understanding about your purpose, your success. You can get a better understanding what comes easier to you. Typically it's what you're better at, but that's where your strengths are, right? And you're much better off trying to build a career or a life that is based around your strengths than your weaknesses. So follow that curiosity. The next element that we have is chromium. And chromium, in our context, stands for creativity. I want you to keep your creativity. Creativity is not limited to the arts class. If you can't paint or can't draw, it does not mean that you're not creative. The definition of creativity is to bring something new into being. So a new idea, a suggestion for doing something in a new way. These are all ways of being creative. And this creativity comes from the right side of our brains. So we have our left side, which is more on the logical, analytical side, and then you have your right side, which is the creative, artistic, intuitive side. And so often in science and engineering, we engage or we default to that left side, to the logical side of our brains. And we can lead with this more logical side to solve a problem. But in doing this, we might forget about the right side of the brain. And when you think about this, though, you're only using one side of your brain. So logically, you're only using 50% of your smarts and you're ignoring 50% of your potential. When we're younger, we tend to have more time to be creative. In primary school, we spend more time colouring and drawing. We do more Lego. We build things in a new and imaginative way. We maybe haven't seen as much, so we don't know as much. We aren't as limited because we haven't seen things done in a certain way. So we use our creative thinking and our imagination to join the dots differently. So my point here is for you to keep your creativity both inside and outside of the lab. Be creative in your experiments, in how you solve problems. Every problem can be solved. You just need to be a bit more creative about it. But don't get limited by the way things are. You may need to create your own opportunities and keep this lateral thinking so you can create your success. Abraham Lincoln had a famous quote: "The best way to predict the future is to create it, and it is yours to create." Finally, the last element that I have to talk to you today is about manganese. You know where I'm going with this. It's not really manganese, it's actually mindset. Choose your mindset. Your mindset determines how you view things, your perspective. The facts are always the facts. The way you perceive them can be changed based on your mindset. So, a very basic example: if you're in great form, you might only see the positives in that day. You might only see the great opportunities. And you can build on this. Whereas if you're not in such great form, you might only see how everything is going wrong. Your mindset might also impact your belief. I have a story to tell you about this. There was once a mathematician called George Dantzig who was in college. And one day he arrived late for class. He arrived so late, he was in a fluster. He took down the maths problems, he took down the maths homework, wrote them down, and then left with no context. And George went home and he started working on his homework. And he thought, it's a bit harder today than usual. Anyway, he worked on it for a few more days. And then a week or two later, he went up to the teacher and he said, "Here's the homework. Sorry I'm a bit late, but I thought it was a bit harder this time." Anyway, the teacher took the homework and didn't see it in his pile of correcting for a few weeks. And 2 weeks later, George Dantzig's teacher contacted him to say, "I can't believe you're after finishing all the homework. I had put up 2 equations. One equation was the homework. The other equation was an example of an unsolvable maths problem. A problem that the greatest mathematicians before you have not been able to solve. But you have been able to solve it." This was because George didn't believe that it was not possible. He thought it was possible to solve these problems. And therefore, he went on to solve them. So take from this story that if you choose a mindset that enables you to see and create opportunities and to believe in yourself, you will go on to do great things. So remember from today, you might have thought other elements were more important, but in our context, copper, chromium, and manganese are the most important elements in finding your success, both inside and outside of the lab. Curiosity, lead with curiosity, turn that torch inwards so you can find what you are passionate about and you will find your purpose. Be creative, both inside and outside of the lab. Create those opportunities. Use creative thinking. And manganese for your mindset. Choose the mindset that will help you get your success. And finally, don't limit your experimentation to the lab. You will only know if you love it when you try it out. So try to say yes to as many opportunities as possible. And as a real scientist, take some time to analyze if you enjoyed it or not and build on what you enjoyed. In terms of experimentation, you have a In general, if there is a 10% chance of success, this means you need to take 10 shots on goal to ensure that you have one success. So keep trying. No matter what the setbacks are, you will figure this out. Thank you very much for your time today. I really hope you enjoy the rest of the celebrations on this really big occasion.